Okay. As normal, we would ask everybody to mute themselves until they go to speak in normal fashion, and we'll be using the raise hand to keep track of speakers. Mrs. Moriarty, you have a motion to reconsider the fiscal 21 approved budget.
That's correct.
So I have a motion by Ms. Moriarty to reconsider the fiscal 21 approved budget. Do I have a second?
You have a second from me.
Seconded by Mr. Raymer. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Ms. Vasiliotis, what is your point of order?
I would request that you rule this as out of order per Robert's rules. As my colleagues know, a motion to reconsider must be made by a person on the prevailing side on the day of the meeting or day after the meeting, if the meeting is conducted into a second day. No such motion was made. I know that as of April 27th, for our April 27th meeting only, the BET voted to suspend the rules to allow any member to bring a motion to reconsider. However, that does not carry over to this meeting, so I would ask you to rule that this motion is out of order.
Ms. Vasiliotis, your point of information is well taken, and I will consider this motion out of order. With that, I have no further business on our special meeting. Mr. Raymer, you have your hand up. You have to unmute yourself.
Mr. Raymer's hand is up. I am unmuted. Am I heard?
Yes.
Are you hearing me? Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yes.
Well, I would remind the body that at the outset of the budget meeting, there was a desire and effort expressed by the chair to present composite motions. I reminded the chair, it echoed, in fact, a conversation that it had with the chair offline prior to the meeting.
Are you making a motion, Mr. Raymer?
The ability to affect.
Mr. Raymer, are you making a motion to appeal the ruling of the chair?
I am debating the point of order. If you're ruling,
the point of order is not debatable. Are you making a motion to?
I'm then appealing the ruling of the chair.
Okay, I have a motion before me by Mr. Raymer appealing the ruling of the chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
That motion has been seconded by Ms. Moriarty. That motion is debatable. Mr. Raymer, you're the primary.
If you please, you'll recall that at the outset of the budget meeting on the 27th of April, you, Mr. Chairman, sought to bring a composite motion in which you were seeking votes upon elements of the budget grouped together in global motions, 3 of them, as I recall. I pointed out to the chair at that time, I had said in private conversations with the chair offline as well, that composite motions are subject to an objection, and upon the objection of any member, doesn't require a second. Composite motions need to be broken down to their individual units. In a spirit of a collegiality, I reached out to the chair and said I would waive that objection on the condition, however, that since that handling of it precluded an opportunity for members, including the minority caucus, to have dialogue and objection to individual units, that I was making a motion to suspend the rules to allow there to be motions for consideration as regards the budget, and that there would be no such requirement that the motion for reconsideration had to come from a member on the prevailing side, which of course is in fact the normal rule under Robert's rules for motions for reconsideration. It was reduced to a motion and brought to a vote, and the vote was unanimous, 12-0. And the stipulation that was reached, 12-0, is that after the conclusion of any of the global motions, after the conclusion of the budget generally, any member would have a right to raise on reconsideration. No second would be required, even though reconsideration normally requires a second, and that it would not matter whether or not the person was from the prevailing side or not. Secondly, even if there had been no such stipulation, and mind you, I'm relying upon your word as expressed in that stipulation and in the unanimous vote, but even if there were no such stipulation, Robert's rules allows a motion for reconsideration on a matter that laps across more than one day of consideration, It allows it on the day in which the matter was voted upon, and it allows it on the next successive day of deliberation on that matter. We are here today in reconsideration of the town budget for fiscal year 21. That was the matter that was before us on the 27th. That was the matter that was voted upon. I believe that the motion for reconsideration is correct. It's right. It didn't even require a second. I'm appealing the ruling of the chair. And I know that I'm looking probably at a 7-6 vote, but I would hope that people of right-mindedness would rise above the politics and do something else besides sustain a wrong ruling by 7-6 or 6-6. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Discussion on the motion to appeal the ruling of the chair. I see no hands up, and Ms. Vassilotis' hands up, and she doesn't have the privilege of putting her hand up. Ms. Vassilotis.
I would just state that I believe that Mr. Raymer is incorrect in his interpretation. The motion to reconsider is allowed the day after the meeting if the meeting is continued into a second day. The day after the meeting was on Tuesday, not the Tuesday, this Tuesday, but last Tuesday. So I believe that that is an error. I also, as I stated before, the motion to reconsider was for the meeting only for Monday. It expired when that meeting expired. It wouldn't have expired if we continued the meeting to the next day, but we did not do that. So I would ask you to please vote to uphold.
Mr. Weisbrod's hand is up, followed by Ms. Crumick.
I'm not a parliamentarian. That's not why I joined this board. But I do note that there are 310 participants that have taken the trouble to tune into this meeting. And I don't know what it is that the ruling has to fear. Why not listen to what's being presented, discuss it, evaluate it on the merits, and allow the people that have taken the trouble to tune into this call to listen and observe how we function. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weisbrod. Ms. Crumick, your hand was up next.
Yes, I understand the town attorney is online, so I'd like to ask him for his interpretation. Is there no way in which this body could hear the request from one caucus to reconsider the budget?
Mr. Marino, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
And might I add that we are, if you're still.
Ms. Crumick, she got cut off.
Sorry, I just wanted to add that it's a sadness to me that we're at a place where we can't simply discuss this, given the outcry from the community, which is very real. A lot of parents very concerned about what's happening to their children now and what will happen to them going forward.
Mr. Marino, would you like to opine on Ms. Crumick's question?
So it's my understanding the question is whether or not a motion to reconsider can be put on the floor at a meetings at a subsequent meeting following a vote that is not the continuation of the meeting where the vote took place. And it's my interpretation of Robert's Rules of Order that unless there are specific bylaws to the body, which is the BET, that would allow such a motion under Robert's rules, the motion for reconsideration would need to be put on the floor at the meeting where the motion was originally adopted. I think there's also arguably a second issue with the motion for reconsideration, and that is an affirmative vote cannot be reconsidered if it has been partly carried out. And when the budget was filed with the clerk's office, I believe it was partly carried out with the what the BET's obligation was under the charter. So I believe that may also be a second prohibition against considering the motion for reconsideration.
Thank you. Ms. Moore, hang on one second, Ms. Moore. Mr. Raymer's hand was up, but he spoke already. I'm going to call Ms. Moriarty first.
Yes, I just want to ask a follow-up question to Mr. Marino. The budget deadline as set by the RTM was May 5th, which is today. So yes, documents have been submitted, but can it be interpreted that the BET should have the discretion to modify its budget submission to the RTM until the deadline that has been set by the RTM?
I think arguably the BET would have the opportunity to amend its action if it sought fit prior to the deadline stated. But a motion to amend is not before the body, it's a motion for reconsideration.
Okay, continuing on. Mr. Raymer, you've spoken, but I have no other hands up. Okay, so I'll call you.
Through the chair to Mr. Marino, to Attorney Marino, if I may.
Please, please,
May.
please.
Mr. Marino, did you take an opportunity to listen to the stipulation that was placed on the record, the motion to suspend the rules on the at the outset of the meeting of the 27th?
I reviewed those and I did interpret those as being germane to that meeting and not to this meeting. And that was
Was
why,
was there anything in that motion that limited to that day?
anything to that motion that limited to that day? Was that your
There was
statement?
no part, I'm asking this a question, was there any part of that motion that expressed that it was limited to that day's deliberations?
No, but it's my understanding that a motion to suspend the rules is limited to the meeting where the motion is made and acted upon and does not carry forward to subsequent meetings unless it's specifically stated in the motion.
Well, I
Otherwise, the rules
respectfully
would be
disagree, but
suspended
it's your opinion,
Otherwise,
not
the rules
mine.
would be
Have
suspended
you had
in
a chance
perpetuity.
to, sorry?
Otherwise, the rules would be suspended in perpetuity if they were not finite.
No, the rules were suspended for the deliberation of the specific item of business, which is
And
what the motion said at the time.
The deliberation concluded upon the vote of the body.
Well, if that was the case, then the stipulation would have no purpose because the stipulation said that after the vote, any member can raise a motion for reconsideration. That was exactly what the motion said. If that motion came to an end at the moment of a vote, then the motion, it was illusory, the whole point. That clearly can't be what the body voted on 12-0. The intent must have been to allow the body to have a motion for reconsideration after the vote. That's what the motion said. Can I direct your attention to page 316, section 37 of Robert's Rules, where it says that a motion is timely. Let me just find the language. That can be made, can be, that the motion is timely on the next succeeding day on which the business of the meeting is held. What we have before us is a motion for reconsideration of the budget for fiscal 21, which was the subject that we voted on the 27th. We're looking at the same subject matter, the same item of business.
The
My
problem, I
reliance is
think,
really upon the stipulation, and I expect people to keep their stipulations. We made a motion to suspend the rules. It had a unanimous vote, and now it's 0. And I have, I don't know, 300 people in the community listening. We received 1,000 emails, and under parliamentary handling, we're going to deny these people an opportunity for consideration of this matter because, frankly, a majority of this body is not interested.
Mr.
So if
Raymer?
I'm the last speaker, we should go ahead and hold the vote on the appeal and let the matter be done.
Thank you, but I have 2 more hands up. Ms. Crumick?
Yes, I want to ask the town attorney if we could amend our motion. If we can amend the motion for reconsideration to amend it to have an amendment, to consider the amendment for reconsideration as an amendment to the budget.
because this is a special meeting, you cannot amend the agenda.
I'm not asking to amend the agenda. I'm asking to amend the motion that has been on the floor as the one item that we are taking up in this special meeting.
And I understand that, but what
And
was,
what would prevent us from reconsidering an amendment to the budget?
well,
Why would that be out of order? That's all part of the same consideration of the budget. That is the only reason we are on this special meeting.
right, I believe what was posted on the agenda was a reconsideration of the motion, not an amendment to the budget. And so I do think that there's a distinction between the two. And under FOIA, it would be improper to add, even if it's comparable to what was posted, it was not what was posted on the agenda.
I would,
Ms.
I
Moriarty?
understand the nuance,
Yes,
but I believe it's meaningful.
given the importance of this issue, I would ask my colleagues when the vote is called on whether to, Jeff, what's the motion again? Whether it's to suspend the
Motion to
rules?
suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules. I would ask you to suspend the rules given the importance of the topic. I would like to point to the fact that the details of the proposal we'd be discussing have been posted on the website for those attendees who want to see what some of the members of this board wanted to discuss. They would be available to you. Thank you.
I would second that motion. That
First
motion
of all-
requires a 2/3 vote.
Okay, so we will dispense of one motion before we take on another motion as per our normal rules. I have a motion to override the ruling of the chair on the motion. That has to be dispensed first. If so, we cannot add an item to a special meeting agenda, okay? It's just, I'll let Mr. Marino say that rather than me, but this is a special meeting requested by the Minority Caucus leader. I followed the meeting request to the letter, including the motion to reconsider. So we have to dispense with the current motion, and the discussion is there on that motion right now. Further discussion on the motion to override the ruling of the chair.
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
Please, your hand is up.
You said we're dispensing with that motion. What's the motion following?
I don't believe there is a motion. I don't believe we can add an item to a special meeting.
Okay.
Your request was for a special meeting, and I don't believe we have provisions to add items to a special meeting. So,
One other follow-up question. If there
Please.
is a 2/3 vote to suspend the rules, would we then be able to take up an amendment to the budget?
I'm giving the same answer over and over. Mr. Marino, is under Robert's Rules of Order, a special meeting, you cannot add an item to that agenda, correct?
That's correct. So arguably you can suspend your rules for other purposes related to the motion that was put on the agenda, but you cannot add anything to the agenda.
That's my understanding too. Let me make a couple comments before we go any further. So I sit here, as all of you do. I think we're all pretty dedicated BET members to no end. And I'm being asked right now to have a special meeting. I have to follow Robert's rules. Now I'm being asked to not follow Robert's rules. I think it was my motion at our last meeting, which was the intent to make it as easy as possible for the discussions. And I see this going around, and I hear the personal comments, and they're not appreciated. So let's look at what's really in front of us, why we need to dispense with this motion to override the ruling of the chair, dispense with this special meeting, and let's talk about what really needs to happen in this town. We're watching our peer communities take actions just like we did. We're watching Stanford, we're watching Fairfield, we're watching our peer West Hartford community cut $4.5 million out of Board of Ed budgets. We're seeing this everywhere. Since we've passed the budget, we've seen healthcare come back and get us for another 900,000. We're seeing
Mr.
letters
Chair,
from our-
point of order. Is this a debate
Go
on
ahead,
the
Ms.
motion,
Harrison.
or is
This
this a
is
debate
on
on
the-
the motion that's before us?
yes, this is my comments. As the chair, I get comments on, this is a debate or conversation on why I don't think we should override the ruling of the chair.
I would
you like
appreciate if
to
you'd allow
challenge-
the minority caucus chair to have similar comments.
That's just, again.
Just
I
another
understand
another
there's a serious
another point
outcry
of
from the
order, according to another point of order,
Vassiliadis.
according to Robert's rules, the chair of the body has the last word, and I think that he's exercising that right.
So you're stonewalling. You're stonewalling our caucus. You're stonewalling our public. I want it to be clear.
That is your opinion, Laura. I don't think it's the
It is
opinion
my opinion.
of this.
I'm gonna
Of,
state it. I
you
am
know,
going to state
again,
it.
this is shameful. It really is shameful.
Yes, it is.
We
And
agree
I
with
want
that.
people to know that we came here in the spirit
Okay.
of compromise and we are not getting it.
Okay. On the
Shame on
motion to override the ruling of the chair, Mr. Drake, a vote yes is to override the ruling of the chair. A vote no is to sustain the ruling of the chair. Please call the roll.
Ms. Cruiser,
Can you,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mike, can you please just repeat the
and I can do it, and Mike can add to it, but we're here voting on a motion by Mr. Raymer, seconded by Ms. Moriarty, to appeal the ruling of the chair. And that ruling was that the earlier item was out of order.
but a yes versus no, please?
And
Yes,
so yes, the vote yes is a vote to contravene the ruling of the chair. A vote no sustains and agrees with the ruling of the chair. So just as an example, we'd expect Ms. Moriarty to vote yes, right? So he's
Can
going
I-
away?
Can I just have the town attorney just clarify that for everybody, of how the yes and no vote will go?
So following up on what I heard Mr. Drake say is if you vote yes, then you're supporting the motion to appeal the decision of the chair, which means you want to overturn the chair. If you vote no, then you want to sustain the decision of the chair, and in which case the earlier ruling will stand.
All good? I'm going to proceed with the votes if that's okay. Ms. Cruiser,
Yes.
Ms. Hess,
No.
Ms. Kremick,
Yes.
Ms. Moriarty,
Yes.
Ms. Tarkington. Ms.
No.
Tarkington,
No.
Mr. Mason,
no,
I'm a no. Ms. Vassiliadis,
No.
Mr. Raymer,
Yes.
Mr. Deuce,
No.
Mr. Weisbrod,
Yes.
Ms. Erickson.
Yes.
So that vote is 6-6, and the motion to override the ruling of the chair does not pass.
that motion has not passed. Having no other items on our agenda, can I get a motion to adjourn?
There was a motion before you. Are you not entertaining that motion?
Mr.
Want the
Raymer,
motion repeated, Mr. Chairman?
it has been ruled in agreement with me that the town attorney said at a special meeting, we cannot add an item to the agenda.
Can I speak to that?
I see no reason to. That my opinion has been made on that, and that's been backed up by the town attorney. I
Well-
wasn't allowed to speak. I was cut off, Mr. Raymer.
Seems to
I
me
was
that
taken-
too is a ruling of the chair, no?
No,
No, that's the rules that we follow. I wish you would stop asking me to not follow our rules. Mr. Marino.
On the
could you please-
contrary, I'm asking you to follow the rules. May I speak to that?
no.
Mr. Raymer, I think what Mr. Mason has saad is that at a special meeting, we are limited to the
I'm
agenda
sorry,
of
I'm
the
not
meeting.
aware that Mrs. Vassiliadis was recognized. I've asked to be recognized. Are we entertaining other speakers before, or what are you doing here?
I couldn't raise my hand, so I had to speak. So I apologize if that offends you.
I'm raising
but
my
I'm
hand.
just-
You can raise your hand too.
Go ahead, Mr. Raymer. This is
So
out of order.
the town attorney characterized the request that appeared on Friday from Mrs. Moriarty was to entertain a motion to reconsider. If you go back and take a look at the notice that you'd received, you'll see that the town attorney is mistaken. The request was simply to reconsider the budget. So now the question is not whether or not we're in. Take a look at what you received. She made a request that there be reconsideration of the budget that was passed. I'll read it to you if you like.
I have it right in front of me, Mr. Raymer.
No need to read it.
Special
It
meeting
is a
be held
motion.
on Monday to reconsider the fiscal year 21 approved budget. Doesn't refer to a motion to reconsider. It asks reconsideration of the budget. And
It
I
is a
believe
motion.
that Mrs. Moriarty's motion to suspend the rules to allow reconsideration of the budget is fairly framed in the request for a special meeting that you received.
The motion before us today was a motion. I asked Ms. Moriarty, we can go back if you'd like and look at the minutes. I asked Ms. Moriarty if she was proposing a motion to reconsider the fiscal 21 approved budget. Her answer was yes. She made the motion. You seconded it. No further discussion. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
No,
Yeah,
I would like a
I'll
ruling.
make
a
I
motion
would like
to
a
adjourn.
ruling
I
on
have
the
a
motions
second.
before you.
No, I have a point here. I'd like to raise a point. Nobody is following the hand raising. For heaven's sakes, we're into this meeting 1.5 hour. A proposal has been put on the table by Ms. Moriarty to come to a reasonable compromise. The town is begging us for a reasonable compromise to come to a point in the middle so that people in the town whose voices have been spoken are heard. And so I think that we could spend a lot more time on the substance of whatever it is that's before us. And if it doesn't meet the wishes of some on the BET, so be it. But rather than spend there are 387 people on this call, and they've had to listen to this for a half hour, they could be much better off listening to the substance of a compromise that's trying to bring all the different parties together. Now, that may not work. People may not like that. But for heaven's sakes, what are we afraid of? Why can't we hear the compromise and suspend the rules, allow Mr. Raymer's motion to go forward, and at least debate the substance out of courtesy, decency for the people who have taken the time to come on this call to listen to this?
I agree.
Thank you. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn? I had one before by Mr. Drake, seconded by Ms. Vassilonis. All those in favor, let's do a roll call vote. Mr. Drake.
Okay, this is a motion to adjourn the meeting. A vote yes will bring the meeting to an end. Ms. Cruiser,
No.
Ms. Hess,
Yes.
Ms. Crummett,
No.
Ms. Moriarty,
No.
Ms. Tarkington,
Yes.
Mr. May.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Ms. Fastiotis,
Yes.
Mr. Raymer,
No.
Mr. Deuce,
Yes.
Mr. Weisbrod,
No.
Ms. Erickson.
You gotta be kidding me. No.
So that before this is submitted for the chair's tie-breaking vote, there's a tie 6-6.
A tie-breaking vote to adjourn the meeting. Board action.
Thank you, everyone. The vote is 7-6. We'll see you at our committee meetings. Thank you, everyone.